I got karate's bad boy over here, Sean Kanan, also known as Mike Barnes. How the hell are you, brother?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. And thank you for joining the show today.
My
I
pleasure.
want to talk about a bunch of things, including a deep dive into your awesome career. But we just started with how you doing. So what are you doing to pass the time? Because it's been crazy, man. I know you like to cook. I know you've been doing a lot of karate, which I want to talk about. But tell me about the cooking, man.
The cooking. Okay, you want to start with the cooking.
Yeah.
Well, I have a cookbook that I wrote that's called The Modern Gentleman: Cooking and Entertaining with Sean Kanan. Cooking, something that I've always loved. I've always seen feeding people as a conduit to creating relationships. Um, the book is not simply a cookbook; it's a hybrid. It helps guys be better guys and helps women understand how guys think. There's a lot of chapters in the book, like the modern gentleman. The modern gentleman defends himself, and I talk about how martial arts has been really important in my life. There's a chapter called "The Modern Gentleman Learns a Foreign Language," and I've always been a huge proponent of studying foreign languages. I've studied Italian now for about 15 years. I've been studying Mandarin now for about a year and a half. So it's some of the best strategies that I know for being a gentleman without being a doormat.
You know what's up? It's funny that you mentioned that you speak Italian, learning Italian. I'm Italian, and we always want to feed people. That's just like part of what we do. We always want to like, come over here. Let me give you something. What can I give you?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I think it's one of the fastest ways that you can bond with somebody. I mean, look, on a very visceral DNA-based level, we need food to survive. And when you're giving someone food, you're basically saying, I'm invested in your survival, on a very sort of caveman level. So
Absolutely.
It's love doing.
And who doesn't love a free meal? Let's be honest. When you go over to someone's house and you get a free meal. But I tell you what, man, yeah, I think it's great that you wrote a cookbook. I watched some of your cooking shows. I know that you're a writer, and you've also just written a book, The Way of the Cobra. And I love the description of what you talk about, what Cobra actually spells out. So would you mind like
Sure.
not, yeah, let's hear about that. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
Cobra is an acronym formed by the words character optimization, balance, respect, and abundance. And the book is set up so that you are entering my dojo, the dojo of life, the dojo of Cobra life. I'm your sensei, and I'm going to help you unleash your inner badass, which everybody has. And I say in the very beginning of the book, I got good news and I got bad news. And if you're like me and Don Corleone, you insist on getting the bad news first, right? So the bad news is that I don't have a silver bullet that is going to immediately transform you into that, uber successful beast that you want to be. But the good news is it's like the Zen riddle. How did the ship get in the bottle? It was already there. Everything you need, you already know. It just needs to be brought out. And in order to do that, you need to accept two things. The first thing you need to accept is that the universe wants you to win. Okay, it is in our DNA to survive and be winners. For 200,000 years, we were not the apex predators, yet we managed to give the slip to saber-toothed tigers, who are now a footnote in archaeology books, and we are the dominant species on the planet. Okay, so you have to accept that the universe wants you to succeed. There's no room for any victimhood in my dojo. And we live in a society now where people gravitate towards being victims sometimes, because I think it gives them some kind of an identity. It gives them some kind of a tribal sense of belonging. And, that's crap. That's the first thing. And, the second thing that you have to accept is that where you are in your life is who you are. It is the sum decision of all the choices that you have made, the good choices and the questionable ones. And you have to accept responsibility for that before you're able to change.
I love it, and nowadays more than ever, like you mentioned, we need that. We need that inspiration and motivation, to be creative and to have like a little kick in the ass quite frankly, you know. And obviously a lot of martial artists, we know about kicking and stuff, and I can't wait to take a deep dive into your martial arts career, because I know you're very passionate about it. I am as well. I love mixed martial arts, boxing, combat sports, in particular 80s and 90s martial arts movies and television shows nowadays in modern times, which we'll get to in a moment. But I think it's really important to stay positive, like you're talking about. And
Yeah.
I hear, like, for me, I'm a Buddhist. So do you believe in Buddhism? Like, because it seems like you have like a lot of those
There's there is a lot that is in the book that does draw from Buddhism and Eastern religions. You talk about staying positive, and one thing I talk about in the book is the concept of story. And people attach stories to events in their lives, and depending on the story they attach, they are either propelled forward or they are stuck. I'll give you the perfect example. Two boys are raised in two households with an alcoholic father who beats his wife, spends all the money drinking, and can't keep a job. One son grows up to be exactly like his father. The second son grows up, doesn't drink, is a fabulous husband, and vows that he will never be like his father. And when asked how both became who they are, they both said, I watched my father. And so, it depends what story you attach to something. And that's why I'm a big advocate of being careful what story you attach, because very rarely as humans do we know what the 30,000-foot view is, what's going to happen. Okay. What might ostensibly seem like it's a negative event may wind up being the most positive thing that ever happened to you. One thing I share in the book is, I was divorced, and at the time it was I looked at it as a crushing defeat. It was demoralizing, all the things that anyone who's gone through a divorce probably feels. And had that not happened, it wouldn't have opened me up to meet my current wife, who is the love of my life, my soulmate, my everything. And, so what initially seemed like a terrible thing, had I known what it would, portend, I would have probably dealt with it very differently.
It's like in combat sports, like a loss isn't the worst thing in the world. You learn so much. I fought amateur, and I got beat, and I was heartbroken, but I learned so much about like how to rebound, and it shows character. That's why we love martial arts so much. That's why, the best movies of all time are martial arts, in my opinion, in boxing films, outside of like The Godfather and like Goodfellas, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just so compelling, and you really root for the people. And if you've ever done combat sports like you have, like, very extensively, and I want to talk about that in a moment, like you understand like the passion for it. Before we take the dive into the whole martial arts world, I want to bring up another thing. Congratulations on Studio City.
Thank you.
8 Emmy nominations, brother, well deserved.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That project is something that I've been trying to get made for a very, very long time, and it's finally come to fruition. We just filmed 5 new episodes, which, filming during a pandemic is no small feat. They are currently up on Amazon Prime, and I'm just real proud of them. I really think that people are going to enjoy the show. It's funny. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. It makes you think. And, it really is the realization of a dream. I'll take you back for a second. You were talking about how, sometimes we need a kick in the ass. And one of the things I talk about in the book is I talk about a time in my life about 2 years ago when I was definitely not behaving like a cobra. I was 35 pounds overweight. I was unemployed with no, job prospects. I was dealing with some old demons that were popping up a little too frequently. And I decided that I needed to do some things differently. And I started to employ some very specific strategies, which I detail in the book. And, one of which was, I said to myself, all right, I'm not going to wait for my ship to come in. I'm going to build the damn ship. And I started doing things differently. And in 1 year, I wrote an Amazon new release best-selling book, Success Factor X, with Anthony Robbins, Mark Cuban, Daryl McDaniels, founding member of Run DMC, is in it. Amazing experience. I lost 35 pounds. And I also, created Studio City, which, like you said, went on to be nominated for 8 Emmys and won an Emmy.
Yeah, you won. Exactly. And that's wonderful, man. When this whole pandemic thing started, I said to myself immediately, this is the time now to connect with family, friends, be creative, because I already went into crisis mode, but I didn't do it in crisis mode to where it's like, oh, we're all going to die and be really fearful. We're cautious. I'm always telling people to wash your hands, all that
Right.
kind of stuff. And I've always been OCD heavy. Like, I've always been wiping things down. I'm like Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos, man. And not just because I got the gray wings. It's because, that's just how I am. And, I started doing more with music. I'm a drummer. I started doing more recordings, more podcasts, connecting with awesome people like yourself, writing screenplays, just trying to do so much. And I know you're doing so very much. I see the work with Adam McKinley, and you guys are like Rocky IV training.
Yeah, listen, I mean, this is such an incredible story. It started out with me watching these unbelievable sort of gravity-defying kicks that Adam can do, that he posts on Instagram. And so I started communicating with him, and from there, it went to texting with him. And from there, it went to a phone call, and he said, well, why don't you come up and train with me sometime in Northern California? And next thing I knew, I'm taking 2 planes and renting a car and driving 70 miles up into this little town called Pollock Pines, California. The elevation was like 4,000 feet. And it was a really, really transformative week for me that has completely reignited my passion for martial arts. And I reached out to Robert Young, who's the editor of Black Belt Magazine. And I said, I'm going on this crazy adventure. I've never met this guy. I don't know if he's going to wear my face as a hat. I'm going up to this remote area in Northern California. And, I can count the times that I've been separated from my wife overnight on like 2 hands. So it was like a big deal for me to go, because it was far and away the longest time that I've ever been separated from Michelle. And I think she just recognized in me that I kind of needed something. I mean, I had some really nice wins over the last 2 years, and now I was looking for the next one. And, in the article that I'm writing, I said, I've kind of branded this line from my evil doppelganger, Mike Barnes, your karate is a joke. And, it was time for me to find out if my karate is a joke. And, ultimately, I came to the realization that it's not a joke. And it's not a joke because I can do, spinning tornado kicks through the air, because I can't, not yet. But I realized my karate is not a joke because the spirit of martial arts really still lives in my heart. And martial arts is not just the physical, but it's the emotional, and it's having humility, and it's being open and creative, and helping other people. There's so many things I think that the best parts of martial arts embodies. And that's what I've tried to include in Way of the Cobra. And that's really what I'm kind of, redigesting in my own life.
It's a natural high, man. Like, the first time I got into combat sports, I did Taekwondo. I went into boxing. I did Muay Thai, wrestled in high school. I did Oishin Ryu. I did a bunch of different things. And, it's a discipline. And I actually trained fighters for a while and had the opportunity to, work ringside for a bunch of networks, and not here to brag at all, but it's an addiction. It's like it's a natural high. Like, there's nothing better. Like, when you see a boxing match, like Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward, Holyfield versus Bo, the sensations you get. And when you see great movies like Rocky, The Karate Kid, who also, Bill Conti did the soundtrack for both films, and they happen to be probably the staple for what combat sports movies became in the 80s and 90s. And when you think about it, I mean, my favorites of all time are Best of the Best, Part 1 and 2. I mean, Eric Roberts, I had him on the show a couple times. What a great guy.
Great guy. I had the pleasure of working with Eric. We actually worked on Young and the Restless together, of all things. And Eric is also in my second book, Success Factor X.
Wow, what a great guy, right?
He's an amazing guy, really is.
That's absolutely.
Tremendous.
Eliza are just wonderful people.
Yeah, Eliza's wonderful. We love her. Yeah.
And his stepson Keaton Simons is an amazing musician. I had him on the show. We did a storytellers type thing where he's playing blues and his music, and I mean, just a really compelling person, you know. Right. So speaking of compelling, martial arts, how did you get your start in martial arts? What motivated you to get?
When I was a kid, I really underwent a lot of bullying, and it's funny. I never would have seen myself as ultimately playing this iconic bully, Mike Barnes. And then when I was filming Karate Kid 3, I never would have imagined that playing this bully would serve as a conduit that would allow me to work with kids about anti-bullying. I'm one of the international youth ambassadors for Buddha bullying. So I go into schools and I facilitate a dialogue with these kids. And before I do, I play the climactic scene where Mike Barnes is yelling at Daniel-san on the mat. And I say, would you believe that scary guy used to get bullied? And kids sort of are like, wow. And it gives me that little opening to sort of bridge the age gap and kind of reach them and start having a serious talk about bullying. It's something I'm really passionate about. Teen suicide is the fourth leading cause of death in adolescents, and bullying is a huge contributing factor to that. And so it's something that it's been a really cool thing that's been a byproduct of my having been in Karate Kid, that I'm able to use that for something that's really positive.
Yeah, that's excellent to use that as an antidote for that. And you're right. Like nowadays too, like the kids, they're home all day. I have a stepdaughter that's going to be 12 in April, and I love her to death. But the school online thing, it's tough. They're not having the interaction. I mean, even like older kids, they're not going to prom. They're not able to play sports. It's kind of an awkward time right now. So we got to keep a close eye on that. And the problem is a lot of kids have too much time on social media, I feel. And yeah. So then that's never a good thing, like, because they're constantly in everyone's business and going back and forth. And like, there's times where you could hear scenarios where people are close friends and they're getting like way too on people, whether it's politics, which I never talk about on social media.
No.
Mention Paulie Walnuts. Like, this is why I don't talk about politics. When Tony beats the guy up for saying some stupid shit about 9/11 or something, I stay away. I go on social media to just like put my like little dump out there about shows and positivity, talk to great people like yourself, and then I get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm exactly like that too. You mentioned how like the kids aren't able to go to school right now, and they're a generation that is kind of socially detached because they use the internet so much and social and everything like that as their primary method of communication. And I really worry that they're going to be far-reaching negative effects by these kids missing out on socialization during critical developmental periods. And it's even more important than ever that, you're on it with your kids.
I say this every single day to my wife, that this is a critical time for people like my stepdaughter's age, teenagers, like all my great friends I still hang out with in life. I'm 42. I met in middle school. Like, right. I started Taekwondo in middle school. I started, playing baseball and drums in middle school. Those are the biggest moments of my life that I still stuck with.
That's a testament to you. I mean, that you must be a pretty cool guy, because to maintain friendships from, your childhood, that's something, that's no small feat. People, you share a common denominator of growing up at a certain time, but as human beings, we change, we grow, we take different paths, and to be able to still count people from those days as friends, that's impressive.
That's discipline that we learn from martial arts and just trying to like have the way of the cobra. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your book, I can't wait to read. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
order it this weekend, and I can't wait to sit down. I still love to read, which is like a dying
Good.
art nowadays. I used to be a journalist in boxing as well, so I love that's where I get my influence, and that's what we all do. Even like with music, like back in the day, like you open up an album jacket and you get to see the executive producer and read all the lyrics. Nowadays, everything's digital, and
Yeah,
it loses that tangible thing that you can have in your hands.
I think there's said for sort of engaging your tactile sense, just physically.
Yes.
I remember you'd be reading a book, man. It's like you'd be carrying it around, like when they used to do that thing where they teach girls how to. It was in like health class. They give them an egg or something and say you got to like take care of this egg as if it's a baby. I remember
this. Yeah.
Carry a book around and you make notes, and it was like people ask you about it. See the book cover, and it facilitated and initiated conversation. Nobody can see nobody can see what you're reading on Kindle or anything like that. And so in a lot of ways, sociologically, there's so many great things that have happened as a result of the internet, but you got to really guard against the possible dangers of becoming too sort of insulated.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know what, people, it's like conversation pieces, right? It's like I'll do a show and I'll be wearing like a Rush t-shirt, and the person will automatically be like, "Oh, great t-shirt." Like right now I got the Cobra Kai glass.
Nice.
People will be like, "Yo, bro, Cobra Kai glass. Like, let's talk about Cobra Kai." And like you start an interview, and for like 15 minutes you're just going on about Johnny Lawrence and who was the real bully and all this type of shit.
Sure.
So we're going to go there in a moment. I keep teasing listeners right now. We're going to go there in a moment. But before we go there, the perfect segue for me is to ask you how you got into acting. I believe Karate Kid 3 was your first feature.
Yeah, it was pretty much my big break was Karate Kid 3. I knew that I wanted to do something to kind of express myself. And as I got a little older, it crystallized into wanting to be an actor. I think at its base, it was because I really wanted to inspire people. And as I got a little older, I realized that acting wasn't the only way that I could inspire people, that I could do it through my writing, that I could do it through my my motivational speaking and my coaching. And it's really just opened up a wonderful world for me, and it's helped me understand myself a little better. And I love working with people, and and helping them achieve, becoming their most authentic self, living their best life.
That's great. I'm a music teacher myself by trade.
Okay.
And I've been doing it now for, I don't even know. I'm 42. I started when I was 19. And you learn a lot about yourself through teaching, especially when I was doing combat sports, because it's funny because I was decent at combat sports, but I made people better because of my lack of how good I was. So I knew the mistakes I made. You know what I mean? And so the bottom line is you learn a lot of your character when you do motivational speaking, because you have to really take an inner channel into yourself and think about things. That's why I love Buddhism so much. And study and practitioner of that. But what I also love is the Karate Kid Part 3. Okay. When you negotiate with Terry Silver, that's a great scene. But it's very, very important right now. We all know why. Okay. It's very important. And we'll get to Cobra Kai in a little bit. But that scene, I love that he says to you, he's going to offer you 25 or 35%, and you want 50.
Yeah, Mike was a negotiator. I think Mike was just really so freaked out to see an adult guy naked in a jacuzzi. He's just like, "Look, man, you got me down here. I'm looking at you naked in the bathtub. That's got to be worth 50%.
This is amazing. Okay, You're absolutely correct. There's a lot to digest and unpack in this scene. What I love is that, you say, I'm going to do my best for you. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my best for you. And see, here's what's up. I think you're entitled to that 50% because I think the stipulation was that you had to win, but Kreese and Silver messed up that win for you because you were kicking LaRusso's ass.
Yeah.
Right? You were kicking his ass. And they kept wanting you to punish him because what happened with Lawrence and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if getting 50% of the dojos was ever predicated on winning. I never heard that. So, I think Mike Barnes has a very
you're entitled to the dojo.
Actionable 50%. Assert his ownership of the Cobra Kai dojos. Well, 50% anyway.
This is incredible. So I agree with you 100%. And when you got Danny down and you were screaming at him, your karate shit, it's a joke. Your sensei sucks. One of the best. I'm going to open the show with that clip. When I put things together, because that's a great scene. Did you ad lib that, or was that scripted?
That was all ad libbed. They let me just go.
I figured that. Yep.
Just go, and that's what came out of my mouth. I mean, but
incredible.
Thanks.
Absolutely incredible moment. And the thing is, like, it's weird because it shows how great of an actor you are because you're such a good guy.
Thanks.
But Barnes is like, he's a badass. But what the thing is? I'm going to put this out there for the listeners because I'm a diehard when it comes to stuff like this. Okay. Is that Barnes could be misunderstood. I'm going to tell you why. Is that he's doing it for the money. He's a businessman. Yep. So maybe he doesn't want to be a bad guy, but he's trying to make ends meet.
I completely agree. I mean, listen, I always thought it would be interesting if, we see Mike Barnes and, maybe he went into the military and got straightened out and comes out an officer and he's a good guy, or I don't know, maybe he's an anger management coach. One of the fans wrote me something. They're like, wouldn't it be funny if Daniel and Johnny get court mandated anger management training and Mike Barnes is the coach? He's got like Birkenstocks on and beads, and he's like, "Hey guys, good to see you. Sit down."
Some fan fiction is really incredible. Sometimes I find myself like on my balcony at night, having a couple of drinks and relaxing and going on a YouTube bender, and then you listen like, "What the fuck am I listening to?" But I'm like, it's interesting. It's like some people really have some good, with Star Wars, I'm a nerd with that and all that kind of stuff, but it keeps you entertained. And obviously the Karate Kid series has kept us entertained. You and Terry Silver's chemistry was excellent in that film. Yeah, dude. And you really played that part in Karate Kid 3, Mike Barnes' role, really, really well. I mean, the bonsai tree, because I'm like kind of like a bit of a hippie when it comes to bonsais. When you broke that shit,
that was terrible. Yeah, I felt
it's a tough part.
Yeah, it's so funny.
His reaction, Pat Morita's reaction is like
it's terrible, right?
It hurts your feelings.
Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of people say to me, "God, you were so scary in that movie." And I said, "Let me tell you something. If I ran into Mike Barnes when I was 17, he would have scared the shit out of me too." So
yeah. Daniel was all messed up by you, bro. Like, but he wanted to like do the thing and you make him sign the contract and all that kind of stuff. And you guys were relentless. The thing that I liked about your character in 3 is that you were just like a big bad. Like you just came in, you were straight business. Like Lawrence kind of had like, a nice guy vibe to him.
Yeah.
Chosen not so much in Karate Kid 2. Like he was just pretty much an asshole, but he was a great role. And it came back in Cobra Kai. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yours was just kind of like cutthroat. And that's what business is. Like you're a prize fighter.
Well, yeah, that's why I always think it'd be interesting though to see what really became of Mike Barnes, because look, the character was pretty one-dimensional, and that's exactly what the producers wanted, and that's kind of what I gave them. But now as a guy that's been acting for 30 years plus since then, there are a lot more colors that I'd like to bring to the character at some point.
Oh, I'm sure, man. And let's talk about the current Cobra Kai thing. Seasons 1 through 3, old meets new, which is amazing that they bring back nostalgia, and also, the new generation of things. They're very hip with the technology and how kids are. I mean, you have several children, and I have a stepdaughter, and I also have a niece I'm very close with. And I'm a teacher by trade, so I know like what kids are into. They do a great job of that. When when Cobra Kai came out, season 1, I was already invested, and all these new people that are jumping on because of Netflix, which I think is great, awesome. Shout out to Netflix. I love Netflix. I watch me some Netflix, but I was like YouTube Red guy, diehard from day one, and I watched the first episode, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, yo, this shit is good. Like, I was surprised how fucking funny and how good this is. And she watched it. She loved it. Next thing I know, my stepdaughter's hanging out. And then we go through season 1 to season 2, which came up quick. And then we had to wait. And then I have people bitching on social media saying like, hey, man, we just burned the whole thing on Netflix. When season 3 come out? I'm like, I've been waiting for like 2 years, homie. Like, you better chill. Like, you got to wait like 3 months.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, listen, they did a job reimagining this. The 3 writer producers have a really tremendous sensibility about comedy. They did Hot Tub Time Machine and Harold and Kumar, and I think they bring so much of that to the show, and I think that's why it's able to appeal cross generationally to guys my age who grew up watching it, and young kids who maybe got invested in Cobra Kai first and actually went back and watched the original films, secondly.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, like they do a great job, the writers. And I actually went to White Castle last night, and I had to pay for it this morning, bro. I'll just leave it there. It was
awesome, and I'm a fan.
I had a random craving. I'm originally from Jersey. Now I'm in Vegas. We just had 2 open up out here. And out of nowhere last night, I just tell the family, I'm like, you know what, let's go downtown, which is very interesting nowadays. Like, it's just weird. It's always been weird, Fremont Street. I love it. It's a good weird, but like It was really insanely packed last night. I think we waited 40 minutes for some White Castle sliders.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it was worth it. But then I woke up this morning, I was like, woo, boy. It's like you got to pay for it. Obviously, we talked about food before. What's your favorite eatery? You're out in California, correct?
I am, yeah.
Do you have a spot that you like?
What do I like? I cook a lot. I really like to cook. I mean, I like to go out for sushi because it's one of those things you really, you can't really make at home. I'm a big fan of Middle Eastern food. Love Middle Eastern food. Love Italian. There's so many good restaurants in Southern California. It's hard to pick just one. But for me, I really enjoy entertaining. I enjoy the process of cooking. You got the steam coming up and a glass of wine and put some music on, and it becomes kind of like a ballet. So as much as I love to go out and eat, and especially now with COVID, I've really, like everybody, reduced the amount of time that I'm going out and eating. So, for me, I prefer just to do it at home.
I got a hibachi grill, a home hibachi grill.
Nice.
It's badass, man. And I love sushi too, by the way. And the kid right now, she did the meal last night, and we did some filet mignons and some vegetables and shrimp.
Yeah.
And she cooked the whole thing, But I was asking her, I'm like, let me see the show. Like, you gotta a glazed onion type of thing. Right. So I'm addicted to hibachi. And you're right, there's a connection with cooking and music. Obviously, I'm a big music guy. What are some of your favorite bands?
I've always loved Bruce Springsteen. He was kind of the soundtrack for for growing up. Classic rock, love classic rock. I just, when I'm in the gym, I love rap. Rap's something that just has always been a part of my working out. Gosh, what else? I have really kind of weird eclectic taste, but I think most people do. I kind of, I'm like a bit of a closet headbanger too, I mean, there's some old school metal and hair bands that I love. So it kind of, for me, music's a little bit like clothing, it kind of changes with your mood and where you're at. So depending on where I am, it could run the gamut.
That's a great way to put it. It's like clothing. I mean, for me, I love everything: jazz, hip hop, reggae, metal, rock. And my girl, when I got with her, she's a big country fan. And I never really appreciated country, which I think is very naive of me. And just like the same way if someone's like, well, this fighter is a bum. No, anyone that gets in the ring or steps in there and does things, you got to appreciate it, right? So I didn't like country. But then I realized it was all about getting laid, getting paid, paying your bills, drinking. I'm like, what's there not to like about this? This is cool, right? So,
yeah. No, there's some really country music. You heard the old joke. What happens when you play a country record backwards? Your truck gets fixed. You get your job back. Your dog comes home. Your wife comes home.
Right. Speaking of dogs, I got a Chihuahua. We got a rescue now that's been in our family for a long time, and she's wonderful. She's my pride and joy. Do you have any dogs?
Oh yeah, Actually, my dog has an Instagram, which is
Oh boy.
I think it's Charlie Kanan. We've got a mini pug. I'm sending you a photo right now.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
We've got a mini pug, and this dog is just like, we become the weird dog people. Like our dog just travels absolutely everywhere with it. Here, I'll send you. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I don't have your phone number, so I guess I'm going to have to do it. Let's see here. I'll do it. Get this 1 second. I'll do this. Sorry about this. I probably
No, you're good. Take your time. I have a buddy, Steve Sharippa, who was on a Sopranos, played Bobby Bacalao. He was on my show a couple of times. He's got a dog, Willie Boy.
Oh yeah,
and he's got a whole Instagram for him too. I think that's awesome. It's like that's great. I should make one for my girl, Polly girl.
And this dog, gets followed by everybody. I mean, and my wife, she insists on doing photo shoots for this dog, and it's got all these followers. People love this dog. And Charlie is actually in Studio City. I don't know how much of Studio City you may have seen, but Charlie's such a good actor that she plays a male dog. She plays my mother's dog, Brute. So she's really the the finest actor on the show, as it were.
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I failed to mention something before about how the show is based on soaps, and you had a huge role on soaps.
Yeah, I'll send this to you later. Soaps are, I've worked off and on in daytime television since 1992. It's had it's been a huge part of my career. Yeah. And so they say, write what you know. And so, the story on Studio City is about a guy who's an aging soap star, and all of the issues that he deals with. He's a very flawed guy. He's kind of lived in the bubble of B- celebrity all his life, and so he's got a lot of evolving and growing to do, but he's trying to be a better guy. And for me, it's probably the greatest role I've ever had because I wrote it for myself.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely incredible. I'm drafting a screenplay right now myself, and my wife's helping me. And we talked about before about the hybrid between the old and the new, and she was schooling me because what I'm writing is like an old school. Not a reboot. It's actually a sequel to an old school martial arts movie.
Oh, wow.
I'm drafting the best of the best part 5. It hasn't gotten green lighted. I'm not trying to plug myself, but it's like, so I go to her and I show her some things and she's like, you're playing way too much up to like your childhood and what you want. She's like, you got to change shit and make it more modern. She's like, you got like 60-year-old guys fighting each other. She's like, how interesting is that going to be? You know, like,
well, it worked out pretty well for Rocky Balboa.
I tell you what, that was a great with Antonio Tarver.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a fight. I think that was the best Rocky fight they have ever done because it had the HBO like real look to it. You had Jim Lampley there, Larry Merchant, Roy Jones, and they actually did that off the back foot, or I think in front of it, of a fight that was with Bernard Hopkins, I believe, and Jermaine Taylor. So it was like the undercard. That's badass, man. And Stallone looked great, I mean, people could pull it off, dude. It's available, and age has just but a number. Look at Mike Tyson lately. He looks like a monster.
Yeah, he looks incredible. I've seen him work in the mitts and everything. And I mean,
holy shit.
Iron Mike is no joke.
No, man, quick and awesome. And I tell you what's awesome, brother. You were awesome today, and you're always awesome. And I can't wait. I'm not going to press you too hard for what's going on with the Cobra Kai universe. Because I like to, we'll throw like little hints out there, but we'll let the listeners wait and see. But I got a good feeling that we're gonna be.
We haven't seen the last of Mike Barnes.
No, we have not seen.
We should see, my friend. Hey, before I jump off, let me just tell everybody: if you want to follow me, please follow me at Instagram. It's Sean.Kanan, or Twitter at Sean Kanan. And please check out my new book. It's available for order, Way of the Cobra, at wayofthecobra.com. With all of my heart and soul, I know this book has the ability to help people and make positive changes in your life. And I want to be a part of that.
Absolutely, man. And I was totally going to mention that, and also let my listeners know that at the end of this video, I'm going to put a trailer on towards the book that I saw yesterday, and it was very motivational. It made me like want to get off my couch and do something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, we got a space for you, John.
There's some quotables, brother, that was very motivating. And yes, please follow Sean. Sean's like one of the nicest guys that you can meet out there in this business. Like, let's just be straight up, brother, and down to earth, and I really appreciate your time, and my listeners are really going to enjoy this. You shared so much, brother. Again,
please
look back.
Keep in touch, man. I really, love to keep up with you and hear about everything you're doing.
Hell yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? And you ever got out to Vegas, dude,
Oh, I've been out to Vegas, my friend.
we'll do a cook-off, bro.
Love it. All right.
I saw a cooking show you did. I know you know your shit. I saw you do some lamb chops.
My lamb chops, bada bing. No joke.
Yo, they look good. I've never had lamb chops, but I was like, man, maybe I should get some lamb chops now.
Hey, lamb chops are amazing, Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like I've been eating way too much red meat lately, dude. I went through like so many filet mignons and New York steaks this past year. And it's funny you talked about weight when we started the show. I went up. I was about like 170 before pandemic. I got up to like 190.
Right.
Went down to like super middleweight in boxing around like 168.
Good.
Now I'm just eating everything all.
Seriously though, I mean, I love red meat. But if you don't have to cut red meat out of your diet, but if you dramatically reduce it, and you go for a steak, once every 6 weeks, you blow it out and have a big steak or something like that. That's fine, but it really is a good strategy for helping to manage your weight, because it's really hard to digest. Yeah, it's a lot of protein, but there's other ways of getting protein. And for me, that's one of the things I did is I largely cut red meat out of my diet. Like I said, I'll have a steak every once in a blue moon now. But I sort of really got into that Beyond Burger stuff. I mean, does it taste like a juicy red steak? No, but it's pretty good. So
what's your main source of I know a lot of people do chicken. What's your main source of protein?
Well, I eat eggs. I believe in eating whole eggs. I will drink protein shakes. And you know, I'm one of those guys that's like a raid the refrigerator at night guy. And so I find that if I have a protein shake, like a low sugar protein shake before I go to bed, it keeps my blood sugar from dipping at like 3 a.m. And I would get hungry. So that's really helped me. Fish, but man, you got to be so careful with fish now because there's so much heavy metals and crap in our fish that, I only, or I do my best to only eat, wild caught salmon because the farm salmon's got all sorts of crap they put in it. And even our tuna, unfortunately, is so super high in mercury. And I love sushi. So that's kind of a tough one. But I would say primarily chicken. I eat a lot of chicken.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head with the seafood. I'm a big seafood guy. I'm a big sushi guy. And when I've been buying seafood lately, I didn't like the quality. Like your body will tell you things.
Yeah.
It'll let you know. It'll make you aware that this isn't good, or like a sensation of some sort that doesn't feel right. And so I started going to Whole Foods more, which I've enjoyed a lot of their seafood. I mean, I'm a big shellfish guy. I love lobster and crabs and shrimp and stuff like that. And you could really tell a difference, man. Like
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's you got to spend a little more, but the quality really is worth it if you can afford it. I mean, it does get expensive if you're buying organic stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't do that, but I try and buy organic when I'm buying certain items.
Absolutely. And one more time, please, for the listeners, run back where we can find you and follow you.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Sean.Kanan. At Twitter is at Sean Kanan. And Way of the Cobra, wayofthecobra.com. Get your copy now. Available for pre-order. Come join the dojo. I
can't wait to read this book. And thank you for allowing me into your dojo today.
Really, my man.
Because I'm straight up Cobra Kai, never dies, brother.
Man, you take care of yourself, John, and keep in touch. All right, brother?